Hey everyone, episode 3 with Matt, the mortgage guy. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great.
Hey, so this interview is going to be really about one rental at a time. Let's assume I'm a full-time employed individual and I'm looking to buy my first rental property, right? Let's assume for this state it's in California. That's the market you serve. And I want to come to you to get pre-approved, not pre-qualified, pre-approved. We went through that in the second episode. So let's just talk. What do I need to be bringing you? What should I be thinking about down payment? What is all that stuff? Because I'm so excited to own a rental home, but I don't know what I need.
Sure. This is a fun topic for me. And I think when people contact me and we start to dig into it, they can feel my excitement building as they start to tell me like they're looking into rentals. And this is a segment of my business that's grown, I think, as my own rental portfolio has grown. As I've invested in more rentals and seen it, it probably shows through in some of the conversations I have. And then those investors refer other investors, but it's neat. And it's really cool to me when I talk to somebody who's got a job that they like, but they realize like, hey, I'd love to supplement my income, and making $7,200 a month at the state is great. While I'm doing that, if I add 1, 2, 3, your advice is add 4 rentals, then, that's going to be a pretty cushy retirement where I can do some traveling and some other fun stuff besides just the pension. So I just thought of it. So I think I'll mention it too. In some of these real estate investor groups I go to, it's a point that's not made enough. If you're working that state job or another W-2 job and you don't have a major issue with it, keep that job.
Yes.
That is going to allow you to qualify for the very best mortgages available. I've seen people who quit and now they got to get into non-QM mortgages or some sort of mortgage product.
I'm so glad you brought this up. I don't know what it is about the YouTube and Bigger Pockets. It's almost encourages people to quit. And I'm like, no, use your W-2 job, qualify, get the best rates, lock in that 30. The beauty about residential loans is 30-year fixed.
Right.
Right. And let me just tell you, cash flow is a lot better if the interest rate has a 3 versus 6.
Yeah. And I can tell you a quick story on that. When I transitioned from retail loan officer W-2 to self-employed mortgage broker back in 2018, I didn't have 2 years self-employed. I didn't qualify. So guess what I had to do? I had to go out there and get a loan that's based on cash flow. And it was the deals were great. So even at, I think one was 7% and one was 6.75. I bought 2 fourplexes.
Okay.
And the deals were so good that they even cash flowed then. But now 3.375, 3.125, I increased my cash flow by $1,000 a month between 2 properties. Just by having those lower rates. So it's something that I don't just preach, but I, practice it myself and I see it, in day-to-day use and with investors. So if you're thinking about getting started and, you own your primary residence, you've got a W-2 job and you're thinking to yourself, I'd love to buy a rental property. Everyone's told me about tax benefits and principal pay down and appreciation in California. So how do I get started? Well, the first thing to do is, like you said, get pre-approved. And mortgage qualifying is just math. It's not super complicated. It gets a little bit more complicated when you add in multiple properties, but you've got your income and then you've got all your debts in your current mortgage. We're adding another mortgage onto the debt side, and then we're adding 75% of that rental income to your income side. And so you've got to make sure that with all that stuff added, our debt ratio is under 50 or under 45, depending on what lender you're going to. But one of the major differences between buying your primary residence that you're living in, where you can put 3%, 3.5%, 5% down, you're going to, in most cases, have to put 20% or more. And I know people will say, well, I heard you can put 15% down on a single family residence. The rate is higher. There's mortgage insurance. Don't do that to yourself. It's just, if you've got to wait 6 months.
Again, back to Bigger Pockets and YouTube, everybody wants to get maximum leverage. I'm on record. I tell all my students, plan for 25% down.
And it's a huge difference. If you look at investors that I've worked with, and I tell the new people this, because usually it resonates when it's like, here's what 90% of my experienced investors do. It's 25%, because just rough numbers, let's say you're buying a single family, you put 20% down versus 25%, it's going to be at least a 0.5% difference.
Yeah, and a 0.5% on 30 years, that's like real money.
Right, right. And I mean, you're buying a house in California for 300, 400, 500,
Yep.
you know, a 0.5% is $1,500 a year. So it's significant.
Yep.
And so, you know, you're going to want to get yourself pre-approved. And just like I do with people who are buying a primary residence, I'm going to give folks a really detailed loan estimate, and it's editable to where if it's got 300 in there with 25% down, they can change the sale price to 340. It's going to show them how much their monthly payment is and how much their total cash to close is. I did this yesterday for a client, and you know, he's going to go out and look at investment properties. There's a ton of different calculators out there. There's a guy, you know Chandler David Smith?
Yeah, of course.
He's an investor out in Idaho. Yeah. I love his rental property calculator. It's super, super simple. And, you know, you've probably got a lot more experience really digging into markets and some of the stuff, but just like generic top line, you know, put in some expenses, put in property management, put in whatever you have to put in to kind of see, you know, initially, like, does this deal make sense at all? Because I would imagine somebody who's getting pre-approved for the first time and looking for their first rental property, you know, they don't have any idea. Oh, the place rents for $2,000 and I think my mortgage is going to be $1,750. That's a good deal, you know, without factoring in, without factoring in anything else. I had an investor yesterday talk to me about some condos out in Reno, and I just showed him. I said, if you want to park some cash and break even, then these properties break even. And, you know, as much as some of those pro formas and, you know, you go to a real estate investing event and everything's got great cash flow, like, oh, actually 5% vacancy, 5% repairs, you know, 8% property management. This thing loses $100 a month.
Yeah.
Right. When you really break it down, but, you know, providing that to somebody and educating them, just like I'd educate somebody who's buying a primary residence, know your numbers, and then, you know, probably follow your lead as far as analyzing a market so they really understand what they're looking for. Because that's most of the battle. Once you figure out what you're looking for.
Yeah. The other thing I would tell an investor, and I talk about this in my book, is residential loans, right? Especially the first couple. They're really looking at you, the borrower. So what does that mean? That means if you have a high income job, they will let you buy an alligator or negative cash flow, because your W-2 job, your liquidity, your debt service is high enough where if you want to buy a stupid deal, they'll let you. I talk about that all the time in my book, because I bought a property, it cash flowed fine. I refied it. I took too much money out because I assumed the lender would be conservative. They're like, no, he's got plenty of room. We load him up.
Right.
So every time I wrote the mortgage payment, which by the way, did impound taxes and insurance, but the mortgage payment in taxes and insurance was more than the rent. And oh, by the way, I had property management. I needed reserves, stuff broke. So every month after I did a refi, it just killed me. So again, if you are a high income earner and you're buying your first, realize a bank will let you do a bad deal. I just wanted to say that.
Yeah. And I mean, there's plenty of people that will massage the numbers enough to make it seem like a good deal. Some of the best advice I can give somebody is if you're going to go out there and buy a rental property, find an agent who also owns rentals.
I agree.
Find an agent who understands rental real estate.
Yeah, I believe if you're going to be an investor in real estate, you want to find an agent that is a lender, such as yourself, Matt, property manager, anybody who's just a service arm but doesn't actually own the asset, meaning rentals. Right, they're in the business for a paycheck.
Right, and I think a common mistake I see too, somebody comes to me, gets pre-approved, and then they say, "Oh, I'm looking at this property. Do you have an agent? Are you working with somebody?" "Oh no, I just talked to the listing agent." "Oh yeah, so this listing agent who's intention is to sell the house and get the most possible for the seller is telling you this is an investor special.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't want to talk smack, but you know, the agent sold 8 properties in the last 2 years and they don't own any rentals themselves. Like they wouldn't know what an investor special was if it hit them upside the head, but
Yeah.
they're telling you it is because that'll get top dollar for their seller. So
Of course.
get yourself pre-qualified, know your mortgage numbers, know the market numbers, and then find an agent who can guide you and really, you know, what I would look for in an agent. And I think that it's a good recipe is an agent where you're like, hey, listen, if you were going to buy a single family in these 2 zip codes as a rental property, go find one that you would want to buy, bring it to me. I'll do my own analysis. And then, you know, not necessarily my job as the mortgage person to do that analysis for somebody, but when I'm working with people, I'm doing that just because, part of it is living vicariously and it's fun. When I'm working with investors, it's like, oh, this is cool. Let's talk about the numbers. Let's talk about this. And it's really cool for me when I talk to that person who's buying their first to kind of get a sense of what's the plan. Oh, I really want to buy 4 in the next 10 years. And I think that if I do this one and I do it right, I'll be able to save up enough in 2.5 years, and then get them thinking about, you know, the 30-year plan where it's like, if I take the cash flow, I don't need it now because I've got a W-2 paying job. If I take it and pay it off towards principal, I can have all 4 of them paid off in 17 years. And then taxes, insurance, property management, I'm netting $8,000 a month. That's double what my pension's paying me. And that's
good.
Cool stuff.
Life is good. Well, hey, in case somebody is looking to buy an investment property in California, how should they get a hold of you?
Go to mattthemortgageguy.com and you can get some information there. If you want to shoot me an email at Matt, M-A-T-T, at mattthemortgageguy.com, then I'll be sure to get back with you and we can schedule a call, chat about goals, dreams, and I can live vicariously through all your investment property purchases.
Very cool, Matt. Well, thank you very much. And thank you for being part of our Wednesdays expert series.
Good times.
Thanks, buddy.